Welcome back everyone to Planet Coaster 2 and the Hanseatic Dreamland, and welcome to a massive episode. Today we are going to build the name-giving ship, the Hanseatic Dream. Now, with the first step, I did build the body of our ship. However, this was recorded, but it all broke down and the recording was corrupt. So actually, we have to start a step later when we started to build the upper part. This episode is gonna be massive, my friends, because we're doing some really cool stuff and it's actually working. But before, a little note to Instant Gaming, the sponsor of the channel. As always, you can grab very cool discounts on this wonderful platform. You can get game keys for a good discount, or you can also get your in-game currency if you want to. They have a good customer support, they are reliable, and everything is legal, so don't you worry about that. And you can grab all you want to need, and DLCs, full games, or you can even go for pre-orders. I highly recommend that, and it is a very good service if you need something that you don't own yet. Just check the link in the description. But now let's get going. Alright, first up, we have to go for the upper ship, and this part, and I should mention that, is based on the mirror method. So what I did do over here, I should explain that before we go, because you can see the ship is very neat, while I'm doing to change the harbor a little bit, just in order to get a bit more space for the ship. It just kind of looked a little bit too cramped in there, and I moved back my path over here. Anyways, the trick I was going to talk about is the mirror method, and what I was using is one of these gimbal arms. You know, in the game there are 3 different new types of arms that you can basically create any kind of operation with, or animatronic if you want to. But they have a wonderful feature. They can actually mirror things as you put them on. Obviously you can always only use non-grid pieces, but you know, a build like this is mostly done with non-grid pieces. And you can see this over here. I only need to select one side of my build, and the other side is just magically transformed with it. Specifically with these very crazy shapes over here, this makes a whole difference, because you only need to tediously work your way on one side, and then the other side just works with it. So you need to go through the whole process just once and not twice. And also this then also gives you the chance to work off angle. Now, it's a bit more technical, but in order to understand this better, is just like imagine in the last games we had of the Planet games, whenever you build something that needs to look exactly identical on both sides, you could rotate that as long as it was like a full 90-degree build, like a rectangular build. That mostly was easy because you were able to just rotate that by 180 degrees. But as soon as you have a certain shape to it that is in need of mirroring rather than just rotating, the whole thing was different. And in order to achieve the same result, you needed to stick to the grid, because with having the grid you could follow the exact same steps in the opposite direction, and ensuring that everything looks the same by doing the same angled things. Now, this leads to the fact that you couldn't do things as clean and as nice as you wanted to. Some absolute madmen did do this by just building themselves their own kind of rulers and stuff like that, but you know, I'm not that crazy. And in this game, everything like that is just basically done by the game itself. However, we still don't have a proper, let's say, mirror piece that we can use. I would really love to have something like the snap edges we do have right now, just for the fact of mirroring. Like, just give us a platform that is actually non-functional anyways, and let us mirror things on it, and then once we are done, just kind of confirm and get rid of the mirror piece itself again to have it as one body. Because what happens here is, as you can see over here, I'm just like building on the one side, and the other side just kind of merges with it. The only little caveat that it comes with is the fact that you cannot split the build from the gimbal. Like, I could even rotate the whole thing magically. I may do this later on in the build just to show you. You can literally rotate the entire ship if you want to. It is kind of crazy that the game still handles that fairly well, but it's not the idea, okay? You shouldn't have this thing rotating, and so what I did is I set the gimbal obviously to deactivate it in order to make sure to make best use of the mirror option. And honestly, for the sake of this build, that was all I needed to do. And as you can see over here, I took then one of the things and put this here in the middle, and I could also go into the settings and just say disable the the mirroring option if I need to. Sometimes I did this if I had some central pieces. I actually went in and changed it to non-mirrored. So, and as soon as I was done with having the main shape, I started to build from there, and it's actually kind of cool. As you can see, pulling these things out, you can really do some fancy stuff with the mirror option, because like the game lets you explore these things in a way better way than previously. And as you can see over here, I can literally do all kinds of shapes I want to. I had the very bold idea to also, you can see this one over here is not mirrored, so now you don't have anything happening on the other side because I selected this one as a non-mirrored piece to form in the middle. One thing I want to praise the game for, it just remembers what your piece was set to. So as soon as you have a certain element that is mirrored, whenever going back to this piece, it will remain mirrored. So if you do copy this piece from its origin, it'll be mirrored still. If you do put a new piece in, it's not mirrored by default, so you can set this to mirror if you need to, or you just not need to. Which is kind of cool, because if you want to do some offsets, which sometimes makes them design more interesting, you just click the piece and say non-mirrored. And that's kind of like very, very well realized in this game, not gonna lie. It all works very stable and very, very nice. The one thing that I didn't really like too much about this, as I said, is that you cannot bake these things, as I would call it. So once you have gone for a positioning on the gimbal, you must stay. So what you could not do now is, if you say like, oh my god, the whole ship, it just kind of is rotated like 13 degrees wrong, I need to rotate that, you can't do this anymore, because then the mirror will be offset. Because once you start building at the mirror, you have this split in the center, and it's perfectly mirrored on both sides. But as soon as you change the angle, guess what happens? The mirror also angles in a certain way and acts like a mirror, and it's not like perfect, but it just kind of creates a V shape or an X shape, depending on what you're doing. And just, yeah, that's not really what you want to have. So ensure that you have the same positioning. And well, the next part of our video is going to approach, and this is why we need to talk about the next step over here, which is going to be the decks. Well, the decks we are going to build off pass. And as you can see, at some point I did actually rotate the whole ship. What you can do though is you can select the gimbal piece itself, like go out of the building and then select the gimbal piece, and then it will let you rotate the gimbal, and so the whole ship will move with it. But what I must say is, with this new pathing options in game, it was almost a pleasure to build the decks. It was ridiculous, and I can already tell you, the whole ship is going to be accessible. The whole ship is, for the most part, going to look insane, seamless, and nice and clean when the guest can actually go and walk through the build. I ensured that every path is at least wide enough so that people can use it. I will not have most of the indoor section in this speed build, so there is a bit of a secret for the latter part of this video. However, I also want to add that it's not even remotely done. I want to do something really cool in the body of, like, the lower body of the ship in the next episode. There is still some space to be filled, so that's not done at all, and I also need to fill in some more of the elements that we have everywhere else. Now, then I was putting some pools on the decks, because that should be the case. This is going to be the, you know, kind of the Dreamland ship. I didn't really talk about this previously, but this ship is obviously the name-giving element of the series. This ship is called the Hanseatic Dream, and the whole park is the Hanseatic Dreamland. So the idea is that, like, the Napali Foundation, which is obviously the holder and the owner of Isla Napali, they also decided to purchase a ship, you know, one of these bigger ships that kind of can travel across the seas. And the idea was to bring people from Germany to Isla Napali. That was the original plan, but as this becomes more and more successful, they also bought this port over here in Hamburg to create another theme park. And so the Hanseatic Dream, as you can see over here, is not only going to be a permanent attraction in here. In my mind, it's also a working ship that can travel to Isla Napali, combining both theme parks to one, which I think is a fairly great idea. Now, we're already in the next part of the video. You've seen that with the brief little chapter mark. This is now the pool integrations. The decks are done, and then I started to put in the flumes and just kind of try to make the different docks accessible. I wanted to also have this upper part being something where we have some hot tubs or so, but I went against it because I needed to put the chimney somewhere, and this is the location for the chimney in a bit. But also, you know, the only thing I'm not entirely happy with is, see, the point is the ship is a tiny bit too small, which sounds ridiculous because it's massive, but realistically, I would have needed to go for at least 2x the size. And if I've gone for that and I tested this, I could have made this even more seamless. You know, going for a bigger size would have allowed me to use smaller pieces in general, but also the bigger pieces would technically be smaller in relation. And so I could have made the whole thing even more seamless. The problem, though, is it just completely falls out of this build, which would even be realistic, because I don't know if you guys have seen these like ridiculously big ships already in some harbors, but they completely thrown over everything. Like, it looks as if the harbor is way too small, which I still don't know why these things exist in the first place. I'm, you know, as much as I'm impressed by them architecturally and also from an engineering standpoint, in terms of nature and in terms of the sheer like nonsense of these things, I'm always confused why they even exist. But you know, I want to go too deep into that. Like, I think it's a fun experiment here for a game, but in real life, I'm just like a little bit confused by it. As I said, the child in me definitely loves them, but the grown-up person who's really interested into renewables and our, you know, planet, the wonderful Earth we are living on, I'm very confused by these things. But anyways, that shouldn't be the topic of the video. The topic of the video is more also, by the way, I've not really talked about the inspiration of this ship. So it's loosely inspired by the Disney ship. There's like kind of, how's it called? The Disney Dreamliner or something of the seas, I don't know. And then also has a huge amount of inspiration by all these big kind of AIDA and whatnot big ships that are out there. Like, there are a whole bunch of these, but like I combined a couple things together, like nothing really specific. But yeah, next up is pathing, and oh boy, that was at the same time fiddly as it was impressive. Don't get me wrong, it's not the easiest bit to do. However, it's not impossible, and I think this is the biggest surprise of them all. This works, and by any means, this wouldn't have been possible in the first game. Like, literally not. Some of the things you could have done, some others you couldn't, and I must say that I'm deeply impressed by what I was able to do afterwards with all the pathing. It's not perfectly clean. A couple of things I should have done a tiny bit different, but the tutorial I was already talking about in the last episode of Blizzard Beach, it did apply over here as well. Taggy3D had a wonderful tutorial on how to do these kind of things, and I could have done this a little bit better, but I was a little bit too lazy to do that again in here. I prepared all these things outside, and then I copied these path elements in, like the staircases, for example, and then I went for a design like this. But honestly, at the end of the day, I made the best out of my solution, and it even looks almost like as if it was planned this way, using a couple of different height elevations in here. I gotta say that this overall looks really, really cool. Like, the interior of this whole thing looks already pretty nice, even though it's just a placeholder. Don't get me wrong, I'm gonna do a couple of things in here in the next episode, but like, this whole build took already 15-ish hours or something. And as I said, we are waiting for the second baby to arrive, and at the moment I just, you know, I work from day to day, so I'm not even sure if things, I don't know, work. But anyways, now we are at the final details already of the outside, and I was also in need of a chimney. And again, I'm using the mirror method over here to, you know, make my life a little bit more easy and put this thing in. I went for a very simple design of a rather short chimney kind of thing. It's not like these bigger ones like, you know, you're used to seeing, but the more modern ones look a bit more like this anyway. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go for a design like this. It's also kind of in the center of the our bridge, which I don't know if that's too realistic, but you know, come on, at this point I'm gonna call that Rudilistic again, because frankly I've no idea how to squeeze anything more in here. Again, as I said, the size is already, it's just enough to make the whole ship very nice, accessible, and very much working and all these things. but it's not realistically sized. You'll see that in the real-time part once we go through here, which is coming up in a couple minutes. So yeah, I also then took this entrance tower I built over here because I already love the shape, and I quickly changed this into becoming a pillar for our build, and also like a little gate, a typical like Hamburg Landungsbrücken gate type of thing. I mean, just look at how the scaling is changing the whole way we are playing this game. Oh gosh, I don't even know what to do without anymore. Like, I definitely want to go back to Planet Zoo soon. I'm working on a project there. But whenever going back into Planet Zoo, this time around, it's not the graphics that's the issue, like it was with Planet Coaster 1 from Planet Zoo. Now, my biggest gripe is actually having no scaling and mirror and all these kind of wonderful new... And the pathing, obviously. So, even though I've never been that much of a big, like... I don't think the pathing in the previous games was that bad. Like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad, you know? And yeah, last but not least, putting also some... a gate in here, and now in a second you see this is what I meant. Now you just completely quickly disable the mirror option, and all of a sudden you just have this opening on one side of the ship. So very nice. Also, I must say that from like the looks of the ship at the moment, we are actually at a low tide at the moment. This is why the ship isn't submerged more than this. Also put a big chain in here where the anchor technically would be. I quite like this, just having this little detail in here. And last but not least, I did a bit of a backdrop because I felt like it's in need to make this a bit more fit into the whole environment. As I said in the first episode of this whole project, it's a bit of a difference this time around. I haven't built the whole environment at the beginning. We do this as we go, and now you can definitely tell why. Because whenever you do something and integrate something, you really must, first of all, have a look how it fits in. And as I said, the ship is a lot smaller than I usually thought it was going to be. But I also figured with having some of these storage holes in the background, making them a bit larger, like this one, like the double height, we are starting to block away the background, which is exactly what I want to achieve. I want to have a certain point of view once you're in the park that you don't see that we are still in like an environment with like some mountains around. It should really look like as if we are at seaside. So yeah, putting one of my towel racks from the last episode of Blizzard Beach in here too. And then last but not least, putting a couple of plants in. But that's the moment where I hand you over to the real-time Rudi, and we're going to have a look at the ship in-game. Alright, so here we are in front of the ship. There you can see the Hanseatic Dream. This is the whole ship in its full glory, just from the ground. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of people moving in. So what we're doing now is we're just going to quickly go through all the people and make our way into the body of the ship. You know, obviously it's a bit small over here. As I said, the whole don't mind this, okay? This is gonna be changed anyways. Also, I don't really know why this isn't entirely black in here. It should be at least a little bit more. But then we come into the body of the ship, and you can see people are using everything as they should. As I said, a couple of things aren't fixed in here. So I still need to do a couple of fixes here and there. Just don't mind, okay? It's still looking pretty damn good, but I need to fix a couple of issues here and there. It's not mega crazy, but there are still some issues I need to fix. Now going outside, you can see this is one of the first pools over here. People are actually using the pools. We've got a lifeguard over here. We have some custom supports going on. We've got some kids in the pool. This is a wading pool. Obviously, I'm not sure if there's anyone on the slide right now. No, there isn't. And let's go one level higher. Just like this is one of the areas we can go in. It's very low at some points. I might need to raise the ceiling here and there. I just misjudged this by a bit because I was in a wrong scaling mode. That was my bad. But most of the size in here just works fine. So let's go over to this side first of all, because that is where you can access the slide. So once you go here, you're basically in front of the slide. You know, this is, I need to block this off because technically I want them to go here as they're doing. Let's just follow them around. So I can definitely deal with some of the glitching here. I'm totally fine with this. Like, we don't have curbs or barriers, and I figured they would also make the whole thing a little bit more problematic, I guess. But I mean, look at that. Let's follow that girl around. Can we just follow her around? Where is she? Is she already down there? Yeah, there you go. Choo! Down here and plop. Oh, we just fell down. I didn't know that's possible. Okay, never mind. The next person will be coming down here too soon, so that you can just see that everything is working indeed, which I feel like is a pretty good testament to how nice this all worked out. Alright, so let's go in, and gonna get crowded over here. People are queuing for the changing rooms. I should put some more changing rooms in the back there. There's also like a staff building hidden in there. Again, as I said, a couple of things have to be done. And then once you go up here, you are in the next pool area, as you can tell. And this is where it goes. Look, people are even floating on here. I love that. I love the fact that it's all working. And then you've got these things, like there's a dash kind of thing where they plumb in here. Bam, there you go. Need to change the entrance a little bit more, make it more nice looking. But I think the idea and the promise of it all is just kind of working very well. And just the sheer amount of ideas that work together in here, like with all the custom supports and stuff, just kind of makes me so happy. There's a bit of leakage here. It's not the best thing to have. Anyways, let's continue going into the next one. Oh, I think that's from the slide, actually. Never mind then. There is another area I need to fully cover, but this is where you go up. And then in this area, whoops, let's go up. You are next for the highest pool. And then in here, again, I will make this a bit more nicely. But as you can tell, there is already so much time that went into this build. I just, at some point, needed to call it a day for one episode. This is already way more than I was actually thinking to do. But yeah, so this is the upper layer. And I'm very happy with how that turned out. There's a support missing over here, I've just figured. But the rest is already supported, as you can see. Also on that side, and always, like as you would do on these ships, as soon as you're getting over the railing, it's turning into glass, so to get the idea that you're in free air over the seas. I think that's just kind of beautiful. We've got a security net here also to the side, so that no one decides to jump out. This one over here obviously is not the safest thing to do. But I figured it's kind of a nice idea to do anyways. And then you can see this is the whole area, and to get up here, there is a staircase hidden. Let's see if I can access that somehow. There is the entrance is somewhere in here. Look at that. Then you can just go up that staircase, which we cannot do in this camera mode. I don't know if I need to put a queue in order to get people up there, because I haven't seen anyone using this ride, so maybe I have to. But this is just how the whole ship works. And I'm figuring, you know what, let's just quickly test this. Maybe this is the easy fix by just putting a queue in there. Should potentially be the trick. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to path, and we're going to go to queue, and then here it's going to put a bit of a queue in. Wait, hold on. Why are you going up? That makes no sense at all. You are on the pathway anyways, aren't you? Hello? What are you doing? Alright, so that's it. That's a queue now. Because technically people can just go around here. So there is a way to get there. Let's see if they do now. Okay, he's gonna go down, or they are gonna go down. Yeah, I definitely have to change this, because it just doesn't look as I wanted it to. But at some point I was going and getting into real trouble when it comes to space, and I'm gonna put like a fake kind of door in here, like a doorway. Also some fencing. People should not jump into the chimney, obviously. But yeah, is this thing open then? It is. Okay, 1% want to go to inner tube. Okay, well, that's not that many people anyways. But yeah, so this is the whole ship in its full glory. Look at that. And also in the context of the Hanseatic Dreamland, this is what I meant by I couldn't go any bigger. I couldn't go any bigger because that would have fallen completely out of the idea of the park, and I don't want to throw this thing too crazily over it. I mean, having this in the skyline of the park is already pretty nuts, and it looks really cool now with people in here. Just the whole picture of it looks really cool, and the whole promise of this whole series is getting clearer by any episode by episode, I think. It's going to look so cool once it's done. It's going to look so cool. I can't wait to finish this side off in the next 2-ish episodes, and then move over to the next island, and potentially at some point go over to the third, or even to this side. I don't know, but you know, my whole plan was for this main area, and from here we're going to work on to the next ones. But I mean, just look at how the whole thing works, and as soon as we've got more stuff placed into the various areas over here, the whole guest load should spread out a bit more nicely. But yeah, the star of today's episode obviously is the pools and is the ship in here, and I mean, just look how I have no words. It looks so fantastic. I really think this is my best build so far in Planet Coaster 2. Definitely it is. It's been obviously very hard to achieve. And oh my god, the guest congestion over here gives me a headache. Let me just quickly do the following. Let me just go to Sandbox settings and reduce this whole thing back to 500. It's way too much for me. Just don't like this. So let's see if people leave and clear this off a little, because it's way too much. Maybe we go for 1,000. Hold on, let's go for 1,000 because 500 may be a little too less. So let's go for 1,000, and then hopefully that's gonna clear out the congestion a little for us. It seems to, because I don't like this being so crazy. But yeah, as for the build itself, I really feel like this looks pretty insane. I did not think it's gonna look that nice. Even the shape looks reasonably clean, to be honest, and reasonably nice. And like having this ship in here with all the slides and stuff looks so cool. It just looks so cool. Like we have the whole thing in here. It's a shame that the lighting isn't that nice from this side anyways. Like I have a couple of ideas to change this, but like if we go for the morning, yeah, this is kind of nice. But as soon as we go to 9, I wanted to 8:30 would have been great. I think 8:30 would have been a nice time of day to give this thing a proper look. But well, this is how it looks. And yeah, I don't even know what to say else, because this build took so much of my time, and I really do hope this episode is gonna do good, because that was something, guys. I tell you, that was something. Yeah, as I said, the lighting isn't the best, to be completely honest with you, but yeah, look at that. This is the full build. Do we still have people in here now? Yes, we have, but they're kind of stuck in here. Let's see if we go to 1,500, if this is gonna make, or maybe 2,000. I just don't want to have them all in the pools, you know what I mean? It's like really, also, oh no wait, it's getting late, right? This is why people leave the park. Yeah, that's why. Okay, well they just join next day even better, but whatever. So that's been it, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed today's episode. It's been an absolute pleasure making this episode. Honestly, I can't tell how much it was a fun doing this. It was absolutely insanely nice doing this. It's been so much fun, and I hope you guys had as much fun as I had, because I had a lot of fun. And frankly, there's still a lot more work to be done with this build, so I do hope that you guys will be with me in the next episode. But until then, I wish you guys a wonderful time. Thank you so much for watching, as always. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment the video. I talk to you in the next one. Have a good time, and goodbye.